In the last two segments, I discussed the question of scientific peer review, the past, and the proliferation in the number of scientific publications and journals, and what does that mean for peer review. In this segment, I want to briefly, sort of, you might say, pile it on. But what I'm discussing now is something that is, quite frankly, very painful, at least to me, and that is the issue that relates to the peer review process that is entirely internally based, meaning the scientific establishment itself, which is at fault. What I'm describing has been widely discussed in the lay press, sometimes weekly. Now, when I talk about problems with the scientific process that relate to the scientific community, of course, this isn't new. One of the most famous episodes here, of course, and we talk about it still today because of its impact, was a publication from Dr. Andrew Wakefield, published in The Lancet, who claimed fraudulently, clearly, in retrospect, a connection between vaccination for measles, mumps, and rubella and the development of autism. Time does not allow me to talk about just the sheer fraudulence of this, etc. I should note it took 12 years for this paper, which was recognized very quickly as being fraudulent, to be retracted, but nevertheless, it finally was retracted. So again, to emphasize the fact that the problem with publications, things like that, getting through peer review process is not unique. But what we see now is an increasing number of such events, at least making it into the news of the press. And who would have imagined a decade ago, maybe even more recently, that the president of a major national institution, Stanford, that president would be forced to resign his position because of questions of the publications, scientific publications that came out in his name through his lab. Who would have thought it was possible that a prominent cancer institution, in this case the Dana-Farber, would require the retraction of multiple publications, again, due to questions about the publications. We also see retractions of major research work related to Alzheimer's disease, in the physics space to superconductivity. We even have the story of an honesty researcher at Harvard who had retractions of her work due to questions of legitimacy of the research. We have evidence of editor of a major sports journal having to have work that he did retracted, and even a Nobel Prize winner has had some questions of his work. The problem here is that all of this, even though it clearly represents a very small fraction of the peer-reviewed efforts that are published, this simply raises, and in my opinion, quite legitimately raises, questions about the quality of peer review and what can be believed or should be believed by society and other experts in the area through the peer review process. Much to think about, much to consider, much to discuss further elsewhere. And I thank you.